Hi, my name is Eldon Tapp. I want to welcome you here to a series of videos that we're going to be producing here for the YouTube crowd. My wife Penny and I have been teaching a marriage mentoring workshop, and this has been so well received, and we're watching it have such a great impact on people's lives that we want to get on here and share some of the core principles that we teach right here in some little short snippets of video clip. And this came about because several years ago we became involved in the study of leadership personal development. And as we were doing that, we started digging through different books and listening to different authors and different recordings and different things like that. And we came to find that many of the principles that we were learning in the process of learning leadership in the business world had tremendous application over here on the family, marriage, and personal relationship side of life. And we actually delved into that, began to study that more and more. And as we did so, the whole panorama of how to actually go in and work on people who had problems with their marriages and help them build a better foundation so that they could have a stronger relationship in their marriage just unrolled in front of us, kind of. And the interesting thing was, we found that there's a lot of books out there and a lot of theories on how to go about working on a marriage relationship in particular. But most of those end up being a very narrow focus, very pointed on one particular principle that they're dealing with. And what really spurred my interest was I happened to read 3 books consecutively right in a row that were each on the principles of relationships, interpersonal relationships, and particularly in marriage relationships. And as I read these books, I went from one to the next one, I went, wow. Not only are these 3 different principles that all have some powerful impact in and of themselves, but if you start adding them together and building on them, they really became very synergistic, and there was a lot of power in being able to apply those principles and understand them in the course of a marriage relationship or a relationship between parent and child, or any other actually interpersonal relationship that you run into. And as we delved into this, this became very important in helping us to understand that. So we started out teaching those 3 principles basically. And as we were doing that, we started to come across different ideas and different principles. And some of them would come from an entirely unrelated field, but the principle would really fit in well and make the whole thing more clear. And what we really developed was a philosophy that most people, especially spouses, if we could just understand the underlying principles that work in a relationship, that it gave us a whole lot better ability to cope with and deal with the little funny idiosyncrasies that we each have. And so we could understand each other rather than being entirely lost and entirely puzzled in every personal relationship dealing that we had. And it really became quite interesting. A lot of people, I know my friends and I have often joked about, man, I really wish somebody would have given me a manual on how to operate a marriage when they gave me my marriage license. And what we really believe is that really is what we're here to offer right now. Because most of us, I know I can speak for the men, we'll joke around a lot that, yeah, I really love my wife, but man, don't ever try to understand a woman. Now, I'm sure most guys have been involved in a conversation like that. And on the flip side, I'm sure a lot of ladies look at us guys and go, we just don't get them. I don't understand how they think. I don't see what motivates them. None of that kind of thing. And what we're here to teach now is that when you understand the principles that work in a relationship, and there are several of them, they're not just a simple one-click, quick fix type of a thing, but it's this concept of understanding principles and understanding the dynamics of what's going on in a relationship. It allows you, first of all, to cut the other person some slack. Because what we really normally do is we try to judge the other person in every action and interaction that we have with them based on our own way of thinking and the way that we function in the relationship. And I'm here to tell you that that doesn't work. Because in every single case, the two sides of the party are going to be coming from totally opposite points of view. Well, not always totally opposite, but from very different points of view in each situation. And there's all kind of principles that govern how we deal with that. There, just as a for instance, some of the things that we talk about, there are different personality styles. There are different love languages. There are even male and female differences, how males and females react differently to each situation. There's something that we call the blueprint concept, and that is who we are, who we've become, what our background approach to every situation that we see is. We really deal a lot in that one. Then there's many other interrelated concepts that need to go along with these. But when you start to understand those, you start laying a solid foundation under your ability to build a successful relationship. And so we want to be a force for delivering those ideas to the public, because we know that today, as we look around us, the divorce statistic alone in this world speaks volumes for the problems that most of us are dealing with in relationships. And actually, I'm going to dwell on that here for just a second. But if you look at the divorce statistic, and I'm going to say in general that it's 50% of the people, of the couples who start a marriage, end up in a divorce at some point in time. Now, it's probably statistically a little stronger or weaker than that, I don't know, but it's roughly around 50%. But here's a couple of things that don't get talked about when we talk about that statistic, and why this is so critical, and why there's so much hope that we can actually impact many families by teaching this stuff. And that's this. Think about the 50% of the people who get divorced in that statistic that we quote all the time. Out of those 50%, how many of them really would prefer to not have gotten a divorce? It just got to the point where they couldn't handle it. And I don't have anything scientific here, but I'm going to say, what if half of those people really would rather have stayed together, but it just got to the point they couldn't deal with their spouse anymore, and so they ended up divorcing? So let's say that there's 25% of the people out of that group that, if they had understood how to get along with their spouse, they could have saved that marriage. Now let's go over to the other side. What about the 50% of the people who actually stay in the relationship and stay married? I'm going to be here to tell you that there's another 25% of those people who they're just tolerating each other. If you ask them if they had a happy marriage, the answer would be no. No way. They're tolerating each other, or they're staying involved in this relationship because of a sense of commitment that they have, which is a good thing, and I applaud that. Or they stay in it for the sake of the kids, another good thing that's worth applauding. But they don't have a happy marriage. So right there, if you take that 50% and the 50% out of the divorce side that would rather have stayed there, we've got, 25%. We now have 50% of the marriages who we could impact and take them from a less than desirable situation into something that really could be good, because now we understand what's going on in this dynamic. And on top of that, in the other 25% of the people who stayed married, who would say that they had a good marriage, even the things that we teach in there are going to be so powerful that they're going to make those marriages even better and even stronger. So the things that we're teaching, simply because it's principles that can be understood and then applied in a relationship, have the power to go in and make a giant difference in literally 75% of the marriages that are out there. Doesn't that sound powerful to you? Now, it's going to be easy? Nope. Change is never easy, and that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about educating people and helping them to change. And so that's the direction that we're going to launch out, and a whole bunch of these videos are going to be tied into that concept. We'll also deal with other aspects of self-education and understanding truth and understanding principles, because that's what we teach, is the power of understanding something and functioning by a true principle can change everything in your life. So we'll sign off right now. We'll talk to you later. Bye.